Hey, pause what you're doing for a moment because what I'm about to share could be the most valuable 4 minutes of health information you'll hear this year. I'm not saying that for effect, but because many doctors, even a number of oncologists, still aren't discussing this with patients over 50. It's not due to a lack of awareness, but because it's not something you'll find in a prescription bottle. I'm Dr. William Lee, a vascular biologist, cancer researcher, and author. For more than 25 years, I've focused on understanding what truly helps prevent cancer at the cellular level. What I discovered, supported by a major 2022 study from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health, which tracked over 116,000 adults across 28 years, is that one particular group of daily habits can reduce overall cancer risk by as much as 61% in people over 50. 61%. This isn't about supplements or chemotherapy. It's about lifestyle. In this video, I'll walk you through the 5 most impactful parts of that habit, ranked from beneficial to truly life-changing, so by the end, you'll know exactly what actions to begin tomorrow morning. Let me highlight something important right away. The number 1 item on this list is something 90% of people over 60 are currently doing incorrectly. Research indicates that correcting it alone could nearly cut cancer risk in half. So don't skip ahead. Watch until the end because the sequence matters. Each step builds on the one before it. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you something. Drop a comment below with your age and let me know, has a doctor ever taken the time to talk with you about preventing cancer, not just detecting it? I read every single comment. On this channel, your responses truly influence what I create next. So take a moment, just 10 seconds, and share your thoughts. Now let's begin. Starting at number 5. This is something many people overlook because it seems too basic to matter. But ignoring it could have serious consequences. I'm referring to cold water hydration, specifically drinking 16 to 20 ounces of cold or room temperature filtered water first thing in the morning. Do this before coffee, before eating, and before checking your phone. Before you dismiss this idea, consider the science behind it. The process is both interesting and highly relevant to how the body ages. After the age of 55, something known as interoceptive thirst sensitivity begins to decline. In simple terms, your brain becomes less effective at signaling when you need water. A 2019 study from the University of Barcelona found that adults over 60 often function at 8 to 12% below ideal cellular hydration levels, without even feeling thirsty. Why is this important in relation to cancer? Because your lymphatic system, essentially the body's internal waste removal system that clears out cellular debris and damaged DNA, depends heavily on water. When dehydration occurs, this system slows down. As a result, damaged cells begin to build up, inflammation increases, and chronic low-level inflammation is now recognized as a major factor in the development of cancer, especially colorectal, bladder, and kidney cancers. The Harvard Nurses' Health Study reported that women who consumed more than 5 glasses of water per day had a 45% lower risk of colon cancer compared to those who drank 2 glasses or less. That's a significant difference for something so simple and cost-free. For aging individuals, proper hydration also supports a process called autophagy, which is the body's way of cleaning out damaged cells. You can think of autophagy as a quality control system inside each cell, breaking down faulty components before they can become harmful. After the age of 65, the efficiency of this process drops by about 30%, but staying properly hydrated has been shown to help restore some of that function. Here's a simple way to apply this. Keep a 20-ounce glass of filtered water by your bedside. As soon as you wake up and get out of bed, drink the entire glass before anything else. If you prefer, you can add a bit of fresh lemon for taste, because the D-limonene found in lemon peel has its own anti-tumor benefits, which we'll cover shortly. Here's a useful synergy tip. Combine your morning hydration with about 10 minutes of light activity, even something as simple as walking around your home. Movement helps stimulate lymphatic flow and can enhance the body's cellular cleansing process by up to 40% based on research from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. That brings us to number 5, which serves as the foundation. But what you add on top of it at breakfast may be even more impactful. Now let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is a category of food that has been consumed for thousands of years by some of the world's longest living populations. It was overlooked for decades by Western medicine, but is now supported by more than 1,200 peer-reviewed studies focused on cancer prevention. I'm referring to fermented foods, particularly naturally fermented options, such as plain yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso. In 2021, a major study from Stanford University School of Medicine, published in the journal Cell, found that adults who followed diets high in fiber and fermented foods experienced a significant increase in microbiome diversity, along with a noticeable reduction in 19 different inflammatory proteins. Several of these proteins are directly linked to cancer development. What makes this especially important for individuals over 50 is the change that occurs in the gut over time. After the age of 60, intestinal permeability tends to increase. This means the gut lining becomes more porous, a condition often referred to as leaky gut. As a result, bacterial toxins known as lipopolysaccharides can enter the bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation. This type of inflammation can act as a catalyst for the growth of precancerous cells. I once worked with a patient named Margaret, a 67-year-old from Asheville, North Carolina, who came in with persistently elevated inflammatory markers, ongoing fatigue, and a strong family history of colorectal cancer. Overall, her diet was fairly balanced in most areas, but it completely lacked fermented foods. We introduced 2 servings per day, kefir in the morning and a small portion of sauerkraut with lunch. Within just 90 days, her CRP levels, or C-reactive protein, a major marker of inflammation, fell by 38%. Her gastroenterologist was genuinely surprised. She shared that it was the first time in years she truly felt like herself again. This effect works through compounds known as short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate, which is created when beneficial gut bacteria ferment fiber. Butyrate essentially signals precancerous cells in the colon to undergo apoptosis. In simple terms, it instructs those cells to shut down before they can cause damage. You can think of butyrate as a quiet security guard, removing potential threats before any harm occurs. Aim to include 1 to 2 servings of naturally fermented foods each day, not pasteurized ones, since heating destroys the live cultures you need. Always check labels for live and active cultures. A useful synergy tip is to combine fermented foods with prebiotic-rich options. Foods like garlic, leeks, or slightly underripe bananas help nourish the beneficial bacteria introduced by fermented foods, significantly enhancing their effect. Number 4 is powerful, but number 3 is where the science becomes truly remarkable. And if you're finding this helpful so far, this is a great time to subscribe. And like the video, I share evidence-based health content every week for people over 50, and your support helps make that possible. Now, moving on to number 3, this is something you've almost certainly heard about, but likely not explained in this way, and probably not practiced in a way that actually activates its cancer preventive benefits. I'm referring to daily walking, but not just any kind of walking. I'm talking about what researchers now call metabolic walking. The difference between casual strolling and metabolic walking could quite literally determine whether you're feeding cancer or helping to starve it. Here's the science. Your body relies on 2 main fuel systems, glucose and oxygen. Cancer cells, due to a unique aspect of their metabolism. First, described by biochemist Otto Warburg in 1931 and now supported by hundreds of later studies, cancer cells rely heavily on glucose. They are actually quite inefficient at using oxygen to produce energy. This leads to an important effect. When you take part in sustained, moderate-intensity physical activity, exercise that raises your heart rate to around 55 to 70% of its maximum, you trigger 2 significant processes at the same time. First, you reduce circulating glucose levels, effectively limiting the primary fuel source for cancer cells. Second, you increase the flow of oxygen-rich blood through your tissues, creating conditions that are unfavorable for cancer cell survival. A 2020 meta-analysis from the American Cancer Society examined data from 1.4 million adults and reported that consistent moderate physical activity was linked to a 42% lower risk of colon cancer, a 38% lower risk of breast cancer, and a 27% lower risk of lung cancer, even among individuals who have never smoked. These figures are notable, especially considering this approach does not require any medication or prescription. This becomes even more relevant when looking at age-related biology. After the age of 65, mitochondria, the small energy-producing structures inside your cells, decrease in both number and efficiency by as much as 35%. Mitochondrial dysfunction is now recognized as a major contributor to both aging and the progression of cancer. Continuous moderate walking stands out as one of the few methods proven to stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, which means it encourages the body to produce new, healthy mitochondria. You can think of this as upgrading your cells with a new set of energy generators. Metabolic walking involves 30 to 45 minutes of uninterrupted walking at a pace where you can still talk comfortably, but singing would feel slightly challenging. This routine should be followed at least 5 days per week, ideally in the morning before your first full meal, as exercising in a fasted state enhances the glucose-reducing effect. Consider the case of Robert, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Portland, Oregon, who came to me 3 years ago after experiencing a cancer scare, a precancerous polyp discovered and removed during a routine colonoscopy. He was understandably anxious and had not been physically active. We introduced a structured morning walking routine, 35 minutes per session, 5 days a week, combined with dietary adjustments. At his 2-year follow-up colonoscopy, the results were clear: no abnormalities. His oncologist specifically pointed this out. His inflammatory markers showed a dramatic improvement, and his recovery was described as exceptional. Robert shared that walking felt like a kind of medicine. He was absolutely correct. It truly is. For better results, combine your morning walk with proper hydration, as mentioned in habit number 5. If you can, walk in a place with natural light. Morning sunlight helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which directly influences immune surveillance, your body's natural system for detecting cancer. Together, these habits are far more effective than either one on its own. Number 3 is impressive, but the next 2 steps are where things become truly transformative. Number 2 focuses on something you eat and how it helps fight cancer after 50 in a way rarely seen in nutritional research. Let's get into it. Number 2 involves a compound, or rather a group of compounds, found in a specific type of vegetables. The research on their cancer-fighting effects in adults over 50 is among the most convincing I've seen in 25 years of study. This compound is sulforaphane, a powerful bioactive substance found in cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and most strongly in broccoli sprouts. Here's why this is so important for aging. In 2018, researchers at Johns Hopkins University, where much of the early sulforaphane research was conducted, published findings showing that sulforaphane activates a key genetic regulator called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as the chief protector of your DNA. When it is activated, it turns on over 200 protective genes, including those responsible for detoxification, antioxidant defense, and most importantly, the repair of damaged DNA before it can develop into cancer. Now here's the critical issue related to aging. NRF2 activity decreases by about 40% between the ages of 50 and 70. In simple terms, your body's DNA repair system gradually weakens. Sulforaphane helps reactivate this system. A major study from the University of Illinois found that regularly consuming foods rich in sulforaphane was linked to a 52% lower risk of bladder cancer, a 41% reduction in prostate cancer cases, and noticeable decreases in markers related to breast and lung cancer. Even more striking, research from the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center showed that sulforaphane specifically targets cancer stem cells. These are the highly resilient cells that standard chemotherapy often cannot eliminate and are responsible for cancer returning. Think of cancer stem cells. As in the case of an army, you can eliminate the soldiers, but if the generals remain, they will rebuild. Sulforaphane targets those generals. Now here's the preparation detail that many people misunderstand. Sulforaphane is not naturally present in broccoli in its active form. It forms through a chemical reaction when you chew or chop the vegetable, which activates an enzyme called myrosinase. Here's the key issue. Cooking above 140 degrees Celsius destroys this enzyme. Fully cooked broccoli therefore provides very little active sulforaphane. The best preparation method is to chop or lightly crush your broccoli or sprouts and let them sit for about 40 minutes before eating or lightly steaming. This resting period allows the myrosinase reaction to fully develop. After that, steam for no longer than 3 to 4 minutes. Raw broccoli sprouts require no cooking and can provide up to 50 times more sulforaphane per gram than mature broccoli florets. Aim for half a cup of raw broccoli sprouts daily or 1 full cup of properly prepared broccoli. Here's an important synergy tip. Pair your cruciferous vegetables with a small amount of raw mustard seed powder or raw radish. Both are naturally rich in active myrosinase. Adding them to cooked cruciferous vegetables can effectively restore the enzyme activity lost during cooking, increasing sulforaphane absorption by up to 4 times, according to research from the Institute of Food Research in Norwich. That was number 2, and it is highly effective. But what comes next? Number 1 is the most impactful daily habit for cancer prevention after age 50. This is what research has been steadily pointing toward, yet it is often overlooked in preventive health discussions. Number 1 is sleep. But not just any sleep, specifically what researchers call oncological sleep architecture. This refers to the precise quality and timing of sleep that activates the body's strongest anti-cancer systems. The evidence on how cancer risk increases when this system is disrupted is concerning. Here's how it works. During deep, slow-wave sleep, stages 3 and 4, your brain activates the glymphatic system. This is a recently identified waste-clearing network first described by researchers at the University of Rochester in 2013 identified a system that uses cerebrospinal fluid to actively clear toxic proteins and cellular waste from the brain and nervous system. Think of it as a deep clean cycle that only operates at night when the system is at rest, but the link to cancer goes well beyond brain function. During these same deep sleep stages, the body produces its highest levels of melatonin, not just a sleep hormone, but one of the most potent natural antioxidants known in science. A detailed review published in the journal Cancer Research in 2021 showed that melatonin directly suppresses tumor angiogenesis. In simple terms, it prevents cancer from forming the new blood vessels it needs to grow. It also enhances the activity of natural killer cells, the immune system's first line of defense, whose role is to detect and eliminate cancer cells before they can take hold. Now consider this critical aging factor. Melatonin production drops by as much as 70% between the ages of 40 and 70. By the time most people reach 65, production during sleep becomes extremely low. This means one of the body's strongest internal anti-cancer defenses is operating far below its full potential. In 2019, the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified night shift work, which consistently disrupts normal sleep patterns, as a probable human carcinogen. Not merely a risk factor, but a carcinogen, placing it in the same category as certain pesticides and industrial chemicals. This highlights just how serious sleep disruption is when it comes to cancer risk. I worked with a patient, Eleanor, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Scottsdale, Arizona. She was sleeping only 5 to 6 hours per night and waking frequently. Her immune panel revealed significantly reduced natural killer cell activity. Together, we followed what I refer to as a sleep recalibration protocol, a consistent 10 RPM bedtime, complete darkness, lowering room temperature to 67 degrees, turning off all screens 90 minutes before sleep, and consuming a small amount of tart cherry juice at 8 cal-RPM for its natural melatonin-supporting compounds. Within 6 weeks, her sleep duration improved to a steady 7.5 hours. At her 3-month follow-up, her natural killer cell count had increased by 47%. Her oncology team was genuinely surprised. She shared that she hadn't experienced such restful sleep since her 40s. The evidence is clear. Adults over 60 who regularly get between 7 and 8.5 hours of sleep each night in a properly dark and cool setting show cancer mortality rates up to 48% lower than those who sleep less than 6 hours. This comes from a 20-year cohort study conducted by the University of California, San Diego. This isn't a minor factor, it's a critical one. To improve your sleep for better cancer protection, follow these steps consistently. Set a fixed bedtime and wake-up time. Even on weekends, your circadian rhythm doesn't pause. Keep your room completely dark, as even minimal light can reduce melatonin production. Maintain a room temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Celsius, and avoid eating within 3 hours before bed, since digestion competes with the cellular repair processes your body needs to focus on overnight. Here's an added tip. Pair your sleep routine with daily morning sunlight exposure, as mentioned in habit number 3. Morning light helps regulate your circadian rhythm and boosts melatonin production later in the evening. Together, these habits create a biological state where cancer has a harder time developing. All the studies mentioned in this video are linked in the description below. Take time to review them, discuss them with your doctor, and ask questions that often go unaddressed during appointments. As we wrap up, here's the key message. It's never too late for prevention. Science doesn't set an age limit. Whether you're 55 or 85, whether you've faced a cancer scare or never considered it before, your body still has a strong ability to heal, protect itself, and regenerate when you provide it with the right support. These 5 habits, morning hydration, daily fermented foods, metabolic walking, sulforaphane-rich cruciferous vegetables, and restorative sleep are not complex or exotic health protocols. They are simply the conditions your biology was built to function best under. They are inexpensive, require no medical prescription, and each morning gives you a new chance to start again. Your independence, your quality of life, and your ability to be present for the people you care about are all worth 30 minutes of walking, a glass of water, and a consistent bedtime routine. Don't let anyone convince you it's too late. The research does not support that idea, and neither do I. If this video was helpful, please subscribe to the channel and share it with someone you care about. Every week, we go this deep into the science of aging well, and your support helps make this work possible. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 habits are you going to start with? And what has been your biggest obstacle to getting good sleep? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every single one.